performance of state-owned enterprises has been very poor in recent years. It is understood there's lack of transparency and accountability, and many are alleged to be in breach of their statutory obligations. Hi, I'm Festus Maigenup. Welcome to this edition of Business PNG. The Minister for State Enterprises and Public Investments, Ben Micah, has indicated there are major reforms underway that's intended to beef up performance of state-owned enterprises, a process in which the business sector will play a major role and will also be a major beneficiary. We spoke to the Minister recently to give us an overview of his plans.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Micah. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you, Anya.
Now, can you tell us what the plans are for your ministry for the short term?
I have done three immediate things. Firstly, I've directed IPBC to provide me a report on the performance of the state-owned enterprises. And secondly, I have requested the IPBC to organize a team of local and overseas advisors, people that have been involved with the state enterprises and the privatization, corporatization program of the Marauta government, to help us to come up with policy directions on state-owned enterprises, on the role of government in the private sector, and how these policies will complement the statement of the Prime Minister. And the third one is I'm looking at success models overseas, in countries, in corporations, as well as locally. So those are the three steps that I've taken. I recently visited Singapore, where I met with the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Finance, and the Minister responsible for the state-owned companies, mostly the state holding company, Temasek Holdings, to look at how we can learn from the experiences. They're the most successful state-owned company, and their subsidiaries like Singapore Telecom and Singapore Airlines and the Singapore Port Authority are some of the best in the world.
I'm sure you will be very successful with those talks. Now, I specifically wanted to just ask about the Yonki Dam project. What's the estimated cost of that, and what are the outcomes that you see?
The estimated cost is up to 2 billion kina, and this project will increase the power generating capacity of the Yonki power station from 85 megawatts to more than 300 megawatts.
Okay, and do you believe there are other countries from whom we can learn about this particular project anyway? Is there a comparison with what other people are doing or other countries are doing?
In hydropower generation, yes, there are many countries that we can learn from. Australia, for example, also Malaysia, Philippines, because many of the countries, with river systems have harnessed those rivers to provide power generation. And our two main grids, the Rona system and the Yonki system, have also been operating and providing power to the southern region and the Momasen Islands region for more than 30 years now. And all we need to do is to increase the power generating capacity of these two power systems.
Okay. Now I'm also going to ask you about the Purari Hydro scheme. I understand most of that energy will be used offshore. Is that what's the benefit for this country or that particular community?
3,000 megawatt of power is a lot of power, and therefore there will be enough capacity to provide local requirements, domestic requirements, as well as exporting power to Australia. So yes, it will not be having any problem whatsoever in affecting the existing power supply to existing demands, which this Purari project's capacity is way, way beyond the demands of energy domestically for the next 20 to 30 years.
What do you see the long-term benefits?
Export earnings from Australia and encouraging downstream processing into the country. For example, there is a proposal to build a port in Daro by PNG Sustainable and Australian companies that will establish a smelter for aluminium. So this kind of industries cannot be established without the provision of reliable and sustainable source of energy. And around the Gulf area and also in the Western Province area where there's ongoing exploration for oil and gas and minerals, a lot of industries will be established around the Gulf and Western and even Port Moresby regions. So the creation of this power capacity will also enable downstream processing factories and industries to be established on, so that will create huge employment opportunities for our people and also transfer knowledge.
In 2008, Telecom PNG sold half of its mobile phone company, B-Mobile, to a private group dominated by a Hong Kong venture capitalist, GEMS. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out so well. This showed the bitter end of a public-private partnership gone wrong and lessons that the government could learn from. Don't go away. We'll have that interview right after the break. With all the downsides in the performance of SOEs, the O'Neill Dion government plans to fully utilize the public-private partnership approach as a tool to beef up performance of state entities.
Now, we've been hearing about private-public partnership for the last 12 months. What is your ministry going to do differently this time to achieve your desired outcomes?
It has become apparent that government is a government, and government-owned companies or entities do not have the manpower capacity. They even lack the financial capacity to fully implement the requirements of the government in providing services. For example, from PNG Power, supply of electricity. It is doing a very poor job supplying electricity to the urban centers, let alone the demand by the rural communities for power. That's one example.
Right.
And you can go down the line and talk about the inability of the telecommunication company, PNG Telecom, to provide telecommunication to existing urban customers, and the complete failure to take communication to the rural areas. So we believe that a partnership between the government, through the state-owned entities, and the private sector, who will bring in technology, who will bring in knowledge, who will bring in commercial work ethics and commercial ways of doing business into these partnerships, as well as injection of capital that government doesn't necessarily have all the time, and then synergize with the government.
Right.
You know, government by providing the enabling environments through coming up with legislation that enables a playing field, a level playing field for these joint government and public companies, as well as others that may come in through privatized models to provide efficient and cost-effective services to the population. There are also some very large activities like the Purari project, for example, or the national telecommunication network that will effectively set a effective platform that will combine the satellite networks, the microwave links, as well as the undersea cables that we connect for our domestic communication infrastructure, and effective and efficient links up into the global telecommunication network. That is a big challenge. that the government alone cannot do. That is an established fact. Therefore, we need not just any private sector players, but large telecommunication operators and large telecommunication companies that can assist us in driving that government agenda to provide these effective backbones to bring effective services to the existing customers in the urban areas and to serve the majority of the population in the rural areas.
Minister, one of the public-private partnerships that didn't work so well was the Telecom PNG and GEMS of Hong Kong B-Mobile venture. Why do you think that failed, and what is there to be learnt from that?
The problem with the B-Mobile GEMS partnership, or this PPP arrangement between the PNG Telecom or IPBC and GEMS, is about a PPP experience that we don't want to repeat. Where arrangements were just made which were not based on commercial reality, that were not based on technical capability, meaning that GEMS, I do not believe, is a company that has got experience in providing mobile services in countries like Papua New Guinea. You see, Digicel succeeded because Digicel started in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, a country that is similar to Papua New Guinea in its geography and the people. So that is where Digicel succeeded and where B-Mobile failed. So I do not believe that that is the way we should go, and that we should learn from the mistakes of that experience and come up with better arrangements that are transparent, arrangements that enable the contribution of private companies that are capable of delivering the expectations of the government in these public-private partnership models.
In your opinion, is there one that is currently working?
BSP.
In what way?
From a bank, from a 100% owned bank that was making losses since 1975, from a bank that was giving loans to the cronies of politicians, to a bank that was in debt. It is now a bank that is got a huge portfolio. Its assets are well over billions of kina, and it has branches in all Pacific countries. And that is a partnership between the government, the super funds, and the public through public listing of BSP on the Port Moresby Stock Exchange. So that is an example.
We'll have more on the other side of the break. The government is open to business ventures and plans to increase trade roles of foreign missions.
Minister, what's your message to new and returning investors who want to maybe invest in state-owned enterprises? What are the avenues they should follow?
Firstly, I'd like to say that against the prophecy of the doomsayers that Papua New Guinea is a land of the unexpected, and that Papua New Guinea is full of crime, and Papua New Guinea is full of political turmoil. I want to say that our 37 years going of undisrupted rule of parliamentary democracy, and now we have been able to keep together as a country of 800 different tribes and language groups living in very remote and difficult geographical locations. We have managed to stay together as a country. We have managed to forge relationship that links our traditional lifestyle into the modern world. And we have also proven through the confidence of some of the largest resource companies in the mining sector. If you are interested in state enterprise, you can come straight to my ministry or the IPBC, If you are looking to go into an area in the forestry sector, forest ministry, or the fisheries sector, the fisheries ministry, or if you are new and don't know where to go, the Investment Promotion Authority, I think, is mostly the place that promotes investment. What we are also looking at doing is to increase the trade roles of our foreign missions, to ensure that we have staff in the foreign embassies who will be not doing just consular work, but also be involved in promoting trade and promoting investment opportunities. So we are working, the Minister for Foreign Affairs and the Minister for Trade have been tasked by the Prime Minister to work on a streamlined approach to foreign affairs and trade in overseas countries. So as we go along, it will become more clearer for us to handle those investment interests in the countries of the potential investors. We will do only one thing. We are going to draw a line or write down like this, and we separate the government into two different parts. One is policy and regulation and service delivery on this side. The other would be business. If the government wants to become involved in business, for example, if it wants to retain its interest in the state-owned entities and it wants to invest in major resource companies, then they must operate under commercial environment. So therefore, this will be government business. This will be government delivery systems, public service. And both must operate efficiently and in a cost-effective manner, meaning that budgets that are prepared to fund certain government activities must be done on time and according to the expectations of the people. For example, if they are going to a health center in remote Tapini, the health worker must be there to give them that medicine, right? And if they are going to their house and they switch on the power, PNG Power must provide the power, as a state-owned company in a business environment. So simply put, we will separate the two, but both must operate on models that will provide expectation to the consumers and provide expectation to the public who deserve services, effectively from both.
With Papua New Guinea looking to other countries for business relationships, how do you think that will impact our long-standing relationship with Australia?
There are many things that Australia can continue to do with Papua New Guinea that China or the Asians cannot provide. There are a lot of relationships and things that Australians and Papua New Guineans do together that other countries cannot provide. Therefore, that relationship is solid and will be like that for many, many years to come. On the business front, we will treat Australia and China and Malaysia and Singapore and America and other countries afar on the same benchmark. And it's very simple. You want to invest in a business here? Do you have the money? Are you going to do it, in this way, that meets our requirements? And if you do, you get the business. There will be no favoritism to Australia or no favoritism to China or to anybody. But for the time being, in terms of funding, China seems to be the only country in the whole world that has got money that they are giving away, for cheap. But the funding does not mean, the funding of our infrastructure or the giving of loans by China doesn't mean that Australia takes second place in our relationships.
Thank you for your time today, Mr. Micah. I wish you all the best in the next coming term, and I know you're going to achieve the outcomes that you hope for.
Thank you, Anna.
Our story on IPBC and state entities when we return. Welcome back to Business PNG. In the recent PNG Business Advantage Conference in Port Moresby, the Managing Director of the Independent Public Business Corporation, Thomas Abe, reiterated Minister Michael's plans for an urgent reform to state entities and a push for an active public-private partnership approach to maintain current robust economic activities. The conference was themed Investing in the Tiger Economy. Unsurprisingly, this meant improving PNG state-owned enterprises to attract investments and build on the private sector. IPBC has become more involved with the private sector in the past 12 months and plans to build on that relationship. The PNG Business Advantage Conference brought together both existing and potential international investors, the motive being to showcase specific areas of business and to provide a forum where local and international decision makers could meet and discuss. Speaking at the conference, IPBC's Managing Director Thomas Abe said in the past 12 months the corporation has embarked on a very significant program of infrastructure development that's designed to remedy the worst of the nation's immediate shortcomings.
But poor infrastructure imposes immense cost and time burdens on us all and ultimately strangles social and economic development.
Major projects include expansion of the Ley Port with a 70 million kina tidal basin, bed and container terminal, Yongki Dam project designed to eliminate the constant widespread power blackouts experienced in the industrial capital Ley and Madang. Phase 1 will see the refurbishment and upgrade of Ramu 1 power station by PNG Power at a cost of about 58 million kina to retain the full operational capacity, which is expected late this year. A second phase, estimated to cost about 55 million kina, will be required to complete the refurbishment exercise. The second project is the Totu Dam mini power station, designed to generate 18 megawatts of electricity from water flowing down to the dam spillway that would otherwise not be harnessed. Construction began in 2009 but was suspended due to problems with contractors. PNG Power has now resumed construction work and expects the plant to be commissioned by mid-next year. The third project is the construction of the new powerhouse, Ramu 2, which would generate an additional 120 to 180 megawatts, bringing the total power generated at Yongki from 45 megawatts to 180 to 240 megawatts. Abe pointed out clearly that neither PNG Power nor the state has the capital or the borrowing capacity to fund and build Ramu 2, which has a preliminary costs estimate of 2 billion kina. IPBC is currently seeking private sector partners for the Ramu 2 project, for which a 45 million kina feasibility study is now underway. IPBC is also sponsoring a plan to rehabilitate and upgrade the Port Moresby power supply through a similar public-private partnership model. However, negotiations have been put on hold. Major projects in the capital city include Port Moresby's sewage system upgrade project, a joint venture between IPBC and Japan International Cooperation Agency, Japan Bank for International Cooperation, and Idaranu, that's estimated to cost about 285 million kina. Other proposals being investigated by IPBC include the Purari Hydro Scheme and smaller gas-fired generators at Stanley in the Western Province and Southeast Mananda in the Southern Highlands.
All three proposals could transform the economics of the nation and the southern region especially, and lead to a big improvement in people's quality of life, to the creation of new opportunities for jobs and business, and from a significant rural electrification component.
The Purari project is estimated to be worth about 25 billion kina and would be the biggest power project in the Oceania region and for Papua New Guinea as well.
Preliminary studies show that the project could generate up to 2,500 megawatts of electricity, almost 4 times the nation's entire present generation capacity. Its huge output could feed into Port Moresby and Highlands grids and allow for the development of new industries, particularly in the southern region, as well as the export of electricity to Australia.
These are some of the major projects highlighted. Meanwhile, Abe said IPBC, through the directions of the government, will ensure that all state-owned entities undergo reform to boost their performance while promoting an active public-private partnership approach to development. He He mentioned during the launch of the Asian Development Bank's independent survey into the performance of SOEs in Papua New Guinea. The report confirms IPBC's admittance to poor performance of state-owned enterprises. Despite having generated profits, this has come at a high cost to the government in terms of financial transfers and detriment to the rural population in terms of accessing basic services. The report assesses the impact of SOEs on the country's economy as well as 5 Pacific nations. The report suggests further changes to IPBC, finalize dividend policies and promote increased private sector participation in SOEs through partial privatization and public-private partnerships. And that has been our edition of Business PNG. You can watch our programs online at www.mtv.com.pg and go to our Business PNG page. Comments or suggestions can also be sent to the address now shown on your screen. Until next Tuesday, I'm Festus Maiganap. Bye for now.